Welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Securities offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Advisory services offered through the Retirement Guys Formula, registered investment advisor. America's Retirement Headquarters, America's Medicare Associates, and the Retirement Guys Formula are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula, America's Medicare Associates, and Retirement Tax Partners with Nolan Baker. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. It's 419-794-3030. You can also find out more about Nolan, the entire team. Set up a time to speak with them on the website. That is arhq.com. My name is Chris Swan. Today on the show, what does the month of September tell us about the stock market? We'll talk about what to base your retirement withdrawals on. And is Social Security's 90th birthday a happy one? All this and more. But before we dive in, let me check in. Nolan, glad to be with you once again. How are you, sir?
Doing incredible. Just a, extremely busy week that we've had this week. A lot of great things that are going on. Of course, earlier this week, we had our tax event that Retirement Tax Partners put on. Fortunately, either way you look at it, we were sold out from our Mancy's event. We do have a little bit of a waiting list. So we went ahead and we scheduled another event coming up later this month. If you're looking for ways to guard your wealth, looking for ideas on how to, try to avoid voluntary taxation and learn, why smart retirees are dumping their traditional IRA, highly encourage you to go to our website, arhq.com, click on the events tab and look for one of those other events that we have coming up. Talking about those tax ideas. And then, of course, as we enter that annual enrollment period, we're also kicking back off our Medicare events. We've got quite a few events that are coming up on our website discussing Medicare as well. And then this weekend, I had an opportunity to jump on a plane and take a quick trip down to Florida as my son does his debut of college hockey. So Florida Atlantic University versus the Miami University should be an interesting weekend for games, and going to go check out his first series of games down there in Florida.
Well, appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with the listeners here. And again, remind people of those events. Go to the website, arhq.com. If one of those dates does not work for you, well, you can just skip the line and get right in front of them. Reach out and set up a time right there on the website as well, or give a call, 419-794-3030. Now, a new study by Nationwide has found that older workers and retirees, they're having a disconnect when it comes to their retirement plans. Thanks to inflation, a lot of people are skeptical of those withdrawal rules of thumb, including the 4% rule and the 100 minus your age rule, that may no longer apply to the new reality in retirement. Nolan, what are some of the withdrawal mistakes that can actually ruin a retirement?
With the stock market at record highs and not knowing what a proper withdrawal strategy could be, you could be sitting on a financial time bomb right now. For retirees with significant savings that are built up and they're worried about making costly withdrawal mistakes, really, I'm going to share with you the framework that we put together known as the independent income system. We're going to talk about some of the biggest dangers that I see on withdrawal strategies. That independent income system has helped really clients understand the purpose for what each account is designed to do, give them a structure to be able to create a strong retirement that they can be confident for. And it's especially critical right now because, again, with the stock market at record highs, making withdrawal mistakes could be costly for you in the long run. So there's a common rule that's in the industry. It's been called the 4% rule. And essentially what it means is that if you take your retirement savings and you withdraw a 4% amount, that could be a safe withdrawal to fund a long-term retirement. And, when you look at these rules of thumb, I think it's important to understand that they're general rules. But one of the problems with the 4% withdrawal rule is your age can determine a lot more, I think, about what a safe withdrawal rate could be. As an example, an older retiree may be able to withdraw much more than the 4%, and in that case, end up having more spendable income. So, an older retiree could have missed out on opportunities as well. That 4% rule is not a one-size-fit-all advice. It ignores your individual situation. The same would be true as if you're younger, You might want to be more cautious about how you take withdrawals out as well. Or if you look at, where interest rates are. So retirement age, it does make a huge difference on what the safe withdrawal rate is. There's a big difference between, say, a 70-year-old and a 50-year-old if you just use that basic 4% rule. The independent income system, what it does is it calculates a personalized withdrawal rate based upon where you're at and then helps you find a specific purpose for what each account is designed to do. Number two is looking at withdrawal sequencing mistakes. Understanding which accounts to take money from first can make a big difference and help you avoid some of the higher tax brackets and prevent Medicare premium cost from doubling or significantly higher healthcare costs if you retire before the age of 65. I'll give you an example. Here we are moving in towards the end of the year. It was a couple of years ago. I had a couple come in, and he had mentioned to me that December 31st was his retirement date. He was going to celebrate the dropping of the ball with ending his employment years, and he was moving into retirement at the age of 62. He came in because he wanted to talk about his investment choices, but he also wanted to talk a little bit about health insurance, and, we had both of those conversations. His initial plan was to start Social Security at 62, and then also to draw income needs he had from his 401k to fund his retirement. The problem with doing that is all of the income that he got from Social Security and the withdrawals that he took from his 401k would be considered countable under affordable health care. Instead, what we did is we brought in, our tax team, and we looked at it from a tax and investment and a health insurance perspective. And we found out before he retired, so again, before end of the year, he was better off repositioning some of his assets to figure out how to take withdrawals from the age of 62 to age 70 and minimize the amount that he paid. We had another gentleman that had come up that had built up a nice savings nest egg and was being able to take advantage of some of the higher interest money market accounts and CD rates that are out there. The problem in his situation is all of that income that he was getting was considered 100% taxable, ultimately resulting in him paying higher Medicare premiums with what is known as IRMA. So the sequence of return matters. Most retirees don't understand the purpose of what each account is, whether it's taxable, tax deferred, or tax free. Making withdrawals in the wrong order can create unnecessary taxes. It can create higher healthcare costs. You do want to figure out, what is the right withdrawal strategy. And again, within the independent income system, what we try to do is try to coordinate how to structure those withdrawals, taking into consideration your individual situation. And the real impact is knowing that can save you thousands of dollars every year. And if you think about, how that can compound over the course of your lifetime, it can make a significant difference. The next withdrawal mistake that I see is what is called a pro rata withdrawal. And what a pro rata withdrawal means is you take your total account and every month they're just selling off a little bit of each investment to get you your dollar amount that you want to take out. But if you understand how sequence of return risk works in a declining market, the danger that you have in a pro rata withdrawal strategy is you're going to be forced to sell off more and more of your shares to get the same dollar amount. What that can do is that can dramatically increase the risk of you outliving your money. When you look at pro rata withdrawals, again, taking an equal amount from all of your market accounts, it can be devastating in a market downturn. And, that's why sequence of returns is a real big risk for those people that are transitioning or already in retirement. With the market at a record high, now is the time that you need to understand what is your withdrawal strategy. And if one of those is applying to your situation, you want to learn about how to avoid those costly mistakes. If you haven't watched the video, you can Google the independent income system. Of course, you can go over to our YouTube channel. Just look under America's Retirement Headquarters. Watch that video on the independent income system because I walk you through the various threats and opportunities. And that might be another big way for you to take a look at where you're at today to figure out what could be the right withdrawal strategy to not only avoid some of the dangers and pitfalls that are out there, but to be able to take advantage of what some of the great opportunities are, right now in this market and have a better understanding so you can have a greater retirement security. Again, that video on the independent income system, you can get it simply by typing it in Google or going over to our YouTube channel. And that can help you avoid making some of those big mistakes that we see people make on withdrawal mistakes that could ruin your retirement.
And to see how the independent income system can work for you specifically, you can set up a time to speak with the team at America's Retirement Headquarters by going to the website, arhq.com, or give a call, 419-794-3030. This is very much one of those cases where what you don't know can, in fact, hurt you, but no fault of your own. Not a lot of people have gotten a lot of training when it comes to how to withdraw their money from those accounts. It's all been save, 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 but the team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help you with that. Just give a call and set up a time to speak with them, 419-794-3030. Now, Nolan, let's be honest, nobody likes to lose money on investments, but in the case of stocks, there can actually be a silver lining to that. It's something called tax loss harvesting, and it creates an opportunity to reduce your federal income tax liability. So let's go into deeper detail here. How does this work, and is it best to get a head start by making an appointment with you now, or should somebody wait until closer to the end of the year?
Tax loss harvesting is a strategy that turns investment losses into potential tax savings. And let's say you sell an investment for less than what you originally paid for it. That is called a capital loss. And with tax loss harvesting, you can use that loss to offset your capital gains. Those are the profits that you've made from selling other investments throughout the year. And this can be done ultimately to help lower your federal income tax liability. If your losses are bigger than what your gains are, or if you don't have any gains at all, you can even use up to $3,000 of those losses to offset your ordinary income. And the good news is you still have leftover losses greater than that. You're able to carry those losses forward into future years. You can technically harvest a loss, and you can look at gains anytime throughout the year, but waiting until the fourth quarter or waiting until about this time of year is oftentimes makes the most sense. And the reason being is right about now, you have a better picture of your overall portfolio, your realized gains. You know kind of what your estimated tax liability is. And that way you can match those losses more strategically towards the end of the year. Here's the catch, though. You don't want to wait too long. So this is something that you don't want to miss the window on. And that's why smart people are meeting with their tax professionals right now. Because whatever you do tax-wise in your portfolio and the decisions that you make are decisions that need to be acted on before December 31st. You'll also, in this case, you want to understand what is called the wash sale rule. And what the IRS did is they created the wash sale rule to prevent investors from really gaming the system, if you will. And here's how that works. If you sell an investment at a loss, and then you buy back the same or a substantially identical investment within 30 days before or after that sale, it's a 60-day window, you can't claim that loss on your tax return. So that doesn't mean that you can't reinvest. Instead, you could buy something that maybe was in the same sector, like if you were in technology or if you were in healthcare. You could use an ETF or exchange-traded fund that provides similar exposure without being considered substantially identical. This way, you can keep your money working for you while still capturing that tax benefit. So tax loss harvesting, it's an important thing to be taking a look at right now in your portfolio. If you have a taxable investment account, it can help you offset and reduce your federal tax bill. You can offset capital gains and even have the potential to write up to $3,000 against your ordinary income. And timing on this strategy does matter because, again, when December 31st strikes, that planning for the opportunity is closed really for this year. And then last, don't forget that wash sale rule. It can disallow your deductions if you repurchase too quickly or get something that's considered substantially the same. So if this strategy sounds like it could benefit you, what I would encourage you to do is have a tax what-if analysis run, scheduling that conversation with your investment advisor and or accountant today to see if tax loss harvesting fits into your overall plan. It can be a way to be, again, proactive and not reactive to your taxes. This isn't just about taxes. It's about making, smart investment decisions that align overall with your portfolio. And as always, before you make any changes with your taxes, always consult with your tax professional before you make any moves in your portfolio.
Perhaps your tax professional has not spoken to you about tax loss harvesting yet, or perhaps you find yourself without a tax professional. No worries. The team at America's Retirement Headquarters, which includes retirement tax partners, they will help you walk through the process and figure out what's going to work best for you. All you need to do to set up a time for that conversation, go to the website, arhq.com, or give a call, 419-794-3030. A lot of great events coming up being put on by America's Retirement Headquarters, both covering taxes, very important topic, and as the annual election period begins, here in a little over a month now, a lot of Medicare workshops coming up, whether you are newly 65, freshly 65 and newly Medicare eligible, or you just want to know what to look for in the year to come. You can find out more about those and register for your spot, arhq.com. Recent history shows that the month of September has not been kind to the stock market. Here's portfolio manager Jason Katz on Fox Business.
You look at the last 5 years, the S&P's dropped around 4.5% on average in September. Over the last decade, around 2%. And there's a phenomenon that becomes sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have people thinking it's going to be bad, so as a result, they become risk adverse. Look, I don't think it's going to be a September to remember. At the same time, I don't think I'd run for the hills. I wouldn't fret because I do think a year-end rally is in the cards.
Now, Nolan, how do you help your clients avoid the trap of trying to time the market, as you've spoken of so often, and focus on a retirement plan that keeps working no matter what the calendar says?
Well, looking at where we're at in the markets and equity markets specifically being close to or at all-time record highs, I think there's a lot to go into learning about market protection for retirement in 2025. And when we look at it, retirement is a point in your life that doesn't allow the luxury of time to make up for mistakes. If you're younger and you're 5, 10, 15 years till retirement, what happens in the market today or tomorrow is that sequence of returns has little impact the longer the time frame that you have. But if you're looking for retirement here in the near future, or you just recently retired, you need to really learn about some of the market protection strategies that are out there. And the good news is that there's a lot of great opportunities, and some maybe you've never even heard of. So if we start on the safer end of the side, and we look at what I would refer to as principal protected options that are out there, some of these can be built upon for the foundation that you have for part of your overall plan. The great news is, with where we're at here in 2025, what we have seen is we've seen fixed income rates still are extremely attractive today. I love the concept of a laddered portfolio. I had a gentleman who had come into the office the other day and had been referred to us, had a lot of money that was built up in his liquid savings account. And I believe that his bank was paying him almost 0.00 nothing, right? And if you don't proactively go out there and look for making your principally protected money work harder, you oftentimes find yourself getting lower interest. What we did is we explained to him the concept of a laddered approach for your safe money. Within the laddered approach, we took a third of the money and ultimately we redirected it to a high interest money market account. We took another third of the money and we invested into a 3-year fixed account. So you could get like a 3-year fixed, or what is called a multi-year guarantee annuity that would pay a fixed rate of return for the next 3 years. And then the third bucket is we took and we put money inside a 5-year bucket of money. And that 5-year bucket of money, again, offered a fixed rate for 5 years. So regardless of what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates, he knows where he's going to get it. And simply taking that bucket approach, the reason I like that approach is, number one, is that first bucket, he's got plenty of liquidity. So, what if he has an emergency? What if the basement floods? What if he needs to replace a roof? What if he needs to replace a vehicle? He's got that liquid money market account. Then he's got money that's maturing at different times in the 3 and 5 year bucket of money. So that is one of the ways to make that foundation work really hard for you, is use a laddered type of an approach. I mentioned the word annuities, and you can also use annuities strategically as well. So when you look at annuities, there's what is called fixed annuities. They're oftentimes called a multi-year guaranteed annuity. What a fixed annuity is, or a multi-year guarantee annuity is it's an insurance contract And what they do is they offer you a set rate of return for a set period of time. You could pick 3, you could pick 5, 7, 10 years, and you would get whatever that interest rate is for that fixed period of time. I have been completely impressed with what my son Andrew, who runs our fixed income department, has been able to find as an independent advisor and agent on the fixed income. If you have fixed money and you're not earning somewhere in that 4 to 6% range here in 2025, you really could be missing out on opportunities of how to make that money work harder. The next thing that you have in the insurance companies of America is you have a product called an indexed annuity. And so what an index annuity does is an index annuity allows you to participate in an underlying index when the market goes up, but then protects you against losses when the market goes down. I would say index annuities, those are most commonly are used for that 7 to 10 years. So again, building out that laddered approach, an index annuity provides that principal protection, and it typically is going to protect you most common in that 7-year to 10-year time frame. Then when you go over and you look at the market as a whole, one, I would say for the most part, for the last 7 years, bonds have not been extremely attractive, especially if you're looking for growth as part of the portfolio. Now, depending upon what interest rates do and or looking at it for income, I think there are some reasons why bonds could make sense as part of a portfolio. In fact, I do a video where we talk about taxes and the difference between, how CDs and money markets get taxed versus like municipal bonds. There can be some reasons there, but if you want to have some defense but still have growth potential overall within the equity markets, one of the things that you might want to consider is what is called a buffered exchange traded fund. It's also known as a defined outcome exchange traded fund. And what these do is these can allow you to limit some of the losses that you have if and when the underlying index goes down. The most common used is the S&P 500 index, but they have a variety of different indexes that you can look at. And so what it can do is it can help you offset the first, say, 10 or 20% if the market goes down. In exchange for that, what you end up with is you get a cap, which would be the maximum return if that underlying index goes up over a defined period of time. The most common that I've seen that are being used in the exchange traded fund for buffered or outcome ETFs also tend to be usually like 1-year type reset options. And they offer some flexibility and liquidity. So, a buffered or defined outcome, you're going to take a little bit of risk, but it's going to allow you to add a little bit more defense into your portfolio than just getting complete overall market exposure. When you look at the investments that you have within the stock market, I think one of the ways that you're going to be able to help have some market protection is, again, knowing what you own and knowing how you're allocated. Use the S&P 500 index right now. What you have is you have a small group of stocks, relatively 7 out of the 500, that make up over 40% of the performance. So the challenge that you have with just the broad market and a market weight portfolio is you could get pushed into unnecessary risk with your portfolio. It could be best example is back in like 2000 when technology blew up. Everybody had technology. A way that you could get more market protection is to equal weight your portfolio. An example there is instead of 7 stocks representing 40% of the portfolio, let's just say you had 100 stocks for simple math. An equal weight portfolio would be to put 1% into each stock. You equal weight it out. So you don't have one stock that represents too much. And then know what you own. So the things that you should own in this environment, not only equal weight, but I think that you want to own companies that are cash rich. Look at the financial balance sheet of the companies that you're working with. You want to invest in companies that have low debt, companies that have really good profit margins. You can be a little bit more defensive if you look at companies that are needed on a daily basis. So, the utilities, your healthcare, your waste management, those things that you need that you're going to have no matter what, your grocery stores, your beverages, your cleaning supplies, or focus on companies that have a competitive advantage, things that stand out and that are really kind of overall dominating their market. So when you look at the market at an all-time high here in 2025, I think now is the time to make sure that you understand what is some of the market protection you can have for your retirement. And if you're not sure what you own, the best way to figure that out is to get an independent portfolio analysis. And you want to do it, again, while the market's at a high. Don't wait till something bad happens and then decide to make a move. Now's a great time for market protection for retirement in 2025.
Longtime listeners of the show, even astute listeners of the show, will be aware that the investment methodology that Nolan is talking about has been a consistent message that he's been giving throughout the years, both in up markets and down markets. It is important. Another thing we keep talking about is trying not to time the market. Can be easier said than done. At the end of the day, it helps to have a plan to fall back on. If you don't have that plan in place, if you want to know more about the independent income system or any of the topics we've talked about today, reach out to the team at America's Retirement Headquarters and set up a time to have that conversation with them. 419-794-3030. Once again, 419-794-3030. Or you can go to the website and schedule a time there as well. That's arhq.com. And as always, we want to thank you for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters, the home of the Retirement Guys Formula, Retirement Tax Partners, and America's Medicare Associates. Hope you have a great week ahead of you. Stay safe out there. Nolan, I know busy weekend for you. I appreciate you taking time to spend with the listeners. Before I cut you loose, though, I'm going to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, I guess the word of the week this week is owls. Go Owls. So my son down at Florida Atlantic University, this is his first weekend playing college hockey. He's battling the Miami University. Should be a great weekend for hockey. Hard to believe hockey season is here, but it is. And, if you're not enjoying the game, I would say enjoy the week. Remember, when you think retirement, think America's Retirement Headquarters. We're here for your entire retirement.
America's Retirement Headquarters is located at 1700 Woodlands Drive in Maumee, Ohio. You can reach them by calling 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Nolan Baker is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstance. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Nolan Baker, Ohio Insurance License Number 27787.